You know, I've said this before and I'll say it again. The first $100,000 is a bitch, but you got to do it. I probably shouldn't use that word, but it's the truth, and I've never been one to sugarcoat things. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, Warren, you're worth billions. What do you know about struggling to save money? Well, let me tell you something. I remember every single dollar I saved when I was young. I remember delivering newspapers in the freezing cold in Omaha. I remember buying my first stock at age 11, 3 shares of City Service, preferred at $38 a share. I was terrified when it dropped to $27, and I sold too early at $40, only to watch it climb to $200. That lesson cost me sleep, but it taught me more than any book ever could. The reason I'm talking to you today about this specific journey from your first $100,000 to your first million is because this is where the magic really happens. This is where compounding transforms from an interesting concept you read about in a book into a powerful force that actually changes your life. You see, most people think getting rich is about finding the next hot stock, timing the market, or getting lucky with some cryptocurrency. They're looking for shortcuts. But I'm going to tell you the same thing I've been saying for 70 years. There are no shortcuts. Wealth is built slowly, brick by brick, dollar by dollar. And it all starts with understanding one simple truth. Compounding interest is the 8th wonder of the world, as Einstein supposedly said. Whether he actually said it or not, it's still true. Let me take you back to Omaha in the 1,940 seconds. I was a kid who was absolutely obsessed with money, not spending it, mind you, but accumulating it. I wasn't born into wealth. My father was a stockbroker, and during the Depression, he struggled. I saw what financial insecurity looked like, and I decided early on that I never wanted to experience it myself. By age 13, I was filing tax returns. I bought a pinball machine for $25 with a friend, put it in a barber shop, and within months we had several machines across town. I was learning about business, about cash flow, about reinvesting profits. These weren't lessons from a classroom, they were lessons from doing. When I went to Columbia Business School to study under Ben Graham, everything clicked. Graham taught me about value investing, buying a dollar for 50 cents. He taught me to look at stocks not as pieces of paper that go up and down, but as ownership stakes in real businesses. This was revolutionary for me. I finally had a framework, a philosophy, a way to think about investing that made sense. After school, I returned to Omaha and started managing money for family and friends, small partnerships. I started with $100 from my wife, Susie, and $100 of my own money. By 1956, I had $105,000 in commitments from 7 limited partners. That was my starting point, not millions, not even hundreds of thousands from my own pocket. Just $105,000 total, and the burning desire to prove that Ben Graham's principles worked. Here's what I learned in those early years that applies to every single person trying to build wealth. It's not about how much you start with. It's about your savings rate, your time horizon, and your ability to avoid stupid mistakes. Let me show you something that will change how you think about money. Let's say you start with nothing, zero, and you save $500 a month. That's $6,000 a year. Now, if you can earn 10% annually on average, which, by the way, is roughly what the S&P 500 has returned over the long term, here's what happens. After 1 year, you have about $6,300. Not exciting, right? You earn $300 in returns. You probably spent more than that on coffee. After 5 years, you have roughly $38,000. You've put in $30,000 of your own money, and you've earned $8,000 from returns. Still feels slow. After 10 years, and this is where it starts getting interesting, you have about $96,000. You contributed $60,000 and you've earned $36,000 from the market. You're close to that first $100,000. But here's the thing. It probably took you 10 years to get to $100,000. How long do you think it takes to get from $100,000 to $200,000 if you keep saving the same amount? About 7 years. And from $200,000 to $400,000, another 7 years after that. You see what's happening? The dollars you're earning from compounding start doing more work than the dollars you're contributing. This is the beauty of compound interest. It's not linear, it's exponential. The curve gets steeper and steeper. By year 30, if you just kept putting away that same $500 a month and earning 10% annually, you'd have over $1 million. you would have contributed $180,000 of your own money, and the market would have handed you over $800,000. The market did more than 4 times the work you did, but only because you gave it time. Charlie Munger, my partner for over 50 years, used to say, the first rule of compounding is never interrupt it unnecessarily. That's wisdom right there. The people who get wealthy aren't the ones who earn the highest returns in any given year. They're the ones who earn decent returns consistently over decades and never panic. Now, let's talk brass tacks. How do you actually accumulate that first $100,000? Because I can show you all the math in the world, but if you can't save money in the first place, none of it matters. I know. You've heard this 1,000 times. But do you actually do it? I still live in the house I bought in 1958 for $31,500. I don't say this to brag. I say it because I genuinely don't need anything more. The square footage doesn't make me happier. The fancy address doesn't make me sleep better at night. I'm not telling you to deprive yourself or live like a monk. I'm telling you to be intentional. Every dollar you spend is a dollar that can't compound for you. If you spend $100 on something frivolous today, you're not just spending $100. At 10% annual returns, that's $1,745 in 30 years. Is that purchase worth $1,745 of future wealth? Sometimes yes, usually no. This seems obvious, but it's worth saying. The fastest way to build wealth is to earn more and save the difference. When I was young, I worked constantly. I delivered papers, I sold golf balls, I did whatever I could to earn money. Today, you have opportunities I never dreamed of. You can learn skills online for free. You can start side businesses with almost no capital. You can negotiate raises at work. But here's the critical part. When you get a raise, don't inflate your lifestyle. Save it. If you're living comfortably on $50,000 a year and you get bumped to $60,000, keep living on $50,000 and invest the difference. I'm going to be very clear about this. Consumer debt is the enemy of wealth building. Credit card debt at 20% interest. That's insane. You can't out-earn 20% interest. If you have high interest debt, paying it off is your investment. It's a guaranteed return. The only debt I've ever thought was reasonable is a mortgage on a home you can afford, and even then, I paid mine off quickly. When you're paying interest, you're compounding in reverse, your debt grows exponentially, not your wealth. Now, I've spent my career picking individual stocks, but I'm honest enough to tell you, most people shouldn't do what I do. It takes tremendous time, discipline, and emotional control. For the vast majority of people, the right approach is simple. Invest regularly in a low-cost S&P 500 index fund. I've recommended this approach publicly, and I've even instructed the trustee of my estate to invest 90% of my wife's inheritance in an S&P 500 index fund. If it's good enough for my family, it's good enough for anyone. Why? Because you're buying a piece of American business automatically diversified across 500 companies. The fees are minimal, unlike actively managed funds that charge you 1% to 2% annually and usually underperform. And you don't have to think about it. You just keep buying month after month, year after year. This is crucial. When you receive dividends, reinvest them. When you get a bonus at work, invest it. Don't take profits and spend them. Let the money work for you. In my early partnerships, I reinvested every penny I earned. My personal living expenses were minimal. I was laser focused on building that capital base because I understood something fundamental. Every dollar I reinvested was another soldier in my army fighting to earn me more money. Here's where things get really exciting. Once you hit $100,000, the mathematics of compounding shift dramatically in your favor. Let's say you've reached $100,000 through saving and investing. You keep adding $500 a month, and you're earning 10% annually. Watch what happens. In year one, after hitting $100,000, your investment returns alone are about $10,000. That's nearly double what you contributed through savings that year. By the time you hit $200,000, your returns in a good year might be $20,000, more than 3 times what you're contributing. At $500,000, a 10% return is $50,000 in 1 year. That's like having a second high-paying job, except you don't have to show up to work. This is why I say the first $100,000 is the hardest. After that, if you just stay disciplined and don't touch it, the money starts compounding on itself in ways that feel almost magical. Your money is making money on the money it made. Let me give you a real example from my own life. When I bought Coca-Cola stock in 1988, Berkshire Hathaway invested $1.3 billion and received about $75 million in annual dividends. Today, we still own most of those same shares, but we receive over $700 million annually in dividends. The dividend income alone has increased nearly tenfold, not because we did anything, but because we held on to a wonderful company and let it compound. The journey from $100,000 to $1 million, if you're saving $500 monthly and earning 10% annually, takes about 18 additional years after you hit $100,000. So we're talking about roughly 28 years total from zero to a million. Does that sound like a long time? It is, but it passes whether you're building wealth or not. I started seriously investing in my early 20s. By my early 30s, I was a millionaire. By my 50s, I was worth tens of millions. By my 60s, hundreds of millions. Today, in my 90s, billions. The vast majority of my net worth was accumulated after age 50. Not because I suddenly got smarter or worked harder, but because I gave compounding time to work. Now, let me tell you about the mistakes I see people make over and over again. These are the wealth destroyers, the things that prevent the first $100,000 and sabotage the journey to a million. Every generation thinks they've discovered some new way to beat the system. In the 1,990 seconds, it was day trading tech stocks. In the 2000s, it was flipping houses. Recently, it's been cryptocurrencies and meme stocks. I'm going to tell you something that might disappoint you. There is no quick path to wealth for most people. Yes, some people get lucky. They buy the right cryptocurrency at the right time, or they get in early on a startup. But for every person who gets rich quick, there are hundreds who lose everything trying. Rule number one, never lose money. Rule number two, never forget rule number one. I'm serious about this. If you lose 50% of your money, you need a 100% gain just to get back to even. The math of losses is vicious. This is why I've always been more focused on avoiding mistakes than on hitting home runs. The stock market will fall. Not maybe it will. There will be recessions, bear markets, crashes. I've lived through dozens of them. The crash of 1987, the dot-com bust, the financial crisis of 2008, the COVID-19 panic of 2020, every single time people panic, they sell at the bottom, lock in their losses, and miss the recovery. Then they get back in after the market has already recovered, buying high. Let me tell you what I do during market crashes. I get excited. Some of the best investments Berkshire Hathaway ever made were during the 2008 financial crisis. When everyone else was terrified, we were investing billions in companies like Goldman Sachs and General Electric at incredibly attractive terms. You should think the same way. If you're in the accumulation phase building toward $100,000 or working toward a million market crashes are gifts. You're buying more shares at lower prices. Your $500 monthly investment buys more when stocks are cheap. Be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful. This might be my most famous quote, and it's absolutely critical to understand if you want to build wealth. Fees are a silent killer. If you're paying 1.5% annually to a financial advisor or mutual fund manager, you might think that's not a big deal. But over 30 years, those fees can cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. Let's say you have $100,000 growing at 10% annually for 30 years. With no fees, you end up with about $1.75 million. With 1.5% annual fees, you end up with about $1.14 million. The fees cost you over $600,000. Think about that. More than $500,000 just evaporated because you paid someone to probably underperform the market anyway. This is why I recommend index funds with expense ratios of 0.1% or less. Keep your fees low, keep more of your returns. People love complexity. They think if investing is simple, it must not be sophisticated enough. So they create elaborate strategies involving options, commodities, forex trading, sector rotation, all this nonsense. I've been doing this for over 70 years, and my approach is remarkably simple. Find good businesses selling at reasonable prices. Buy them, hold them, that's it. For most people, it's even simpler. Buy an index fund regularly and don't touch it. Charlie and I often joke that our preferred holding period is forever. We're not trying to outsmart the market every quarter. We're trying to own pieces of great businesses and let them compound value over decades. This is a psychological trap that destroys so many people. You see someone on social media showing off their Lamborghini or their exotic vacation, and you feel like you're falling behind. So you spend money, you don't have to impress people you don't like. I've never lived my life based on what other people think. I do what makes sense to me. I drive my own car, not because I can't afford a fleet of Ferraris, but because I don't see the point. The happiest people I know aren't the ones with the most expensive stuff. They're the ones who are financially secure and don't have to worry about money. Your journey is your own. Don't worry about keeping up with anyone else. As I'm sitting here in my 90s, looking back on a lifetime of investing, I want to leave you with a few final thoughts. First, start now. I know you're thinking you'll start investing when you earn more, when you have more saved, when the market is at the right level. There will never be a perfect time. I bought my first stock when I had almost nothing. If I had waited for the right moment, I'd still be waiting. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. Second, be patient. This is perhaps the hardest part for most people. We live in a world of instant gratification. You can get food delivered in minutes, stream any movie immediately, communicate with anyone instantly. But wealth doesn't work that way. Wealth requires years, decades even, of consistent effort. I compare investing to watching paint dry or watching grass grow. If you need excitement, go to Las Vegas. If you want to build wealth, learn to be bored. Learn to do nothing when doing nothing is the right move. Third, keep learning. I still read 500 pages a day. I've been doing this my entire life. The more you learn, the better investor you become. Read annual reports. Read business books. Read about psychology and history. Understanding human behavior is just as important as understanding financial statements. The beauty of investing is that it's a field where you can get better with age. Unlike being an athlete or a dancer, where your physical prime is in your 20s, investing gets easier as you accumulate experience. Every mistake you survive teaches you something. Every market cycle you witness gives you perspective. Fourth, focus on what you can control. You can't control the stock market, you can't control interest rates, you can't control what the economy does next quarter, but you can control your savings rate. You can control your investment costs. You can control whether you panic or stay disciplined. I've never made a decision based on what I thought the economy would do or where I thought the market was headed. I've made decisions based on whether a particular business was selling at a reasonable price relative to its value. Focus on what you can analyze and understand, not on trying to predict the unpredictable. Fifth, enjoy your life. I don't want anyone to think that building wealth means being miserable. I've loved my life. I've loved what I do every single day. I've had wonderful relationships, great friendships, and the satisfaction of seeing my family thrive. Money is a tool. It's a tool for security, for freedom, for doing things that matter to you. But it's not the end goal. The goal is to live a good life. If you can build wealth while doing work you love, spending time with people you care about, and contributing to causes that matter to you, well, that's about as good as it gets. So here's the simple truth. The path from $0 to $100,000 to $1 million isn't complicated. It's not easy. If it were easy, everyone would do it, but it's simple. Save consistently, invest in low-cost index funds, reinvest your returns, avoid debt, be patient, don't panic during downturns, keep your fees low, and give compounding time to work its magic. The first $100,000 will feel like climbing a mountain, but once you get there, once you've built that foundation, the acceleration begins. Your money starts working as hard as you do. Then it starts working harder than you do. Eventually, your money's doing all the work and you're just along for the ride. I built my fortune on these principles. Thousands of people have built wealth on these same principles. There's nothing magical about it. It's just mathematics, discipline, and time. You can do this. You don't need to be a genius. You don't need to be lucky. You just need to be sensible, patient, and consistent. Start today. Save your money. Invest it wisely. and let compounding do what it does best, turn small amounts into large amounts given enough time. That's all I've got to say. Now go out there and build your wealth $1 at a time. Thank you.